ओम श्री तपोवन परम गुरवे नमः। ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरम्। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यंकरवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। We chant the first 6 verses. अनंत संसार समुद्रतार नौकायिताभ्यां गुरुभक्तिदाभ्यां वैराग्य साम्राज्यद पूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां कवित्ववाराशिनिशाकराभ्यां दौर्भाग्यदावाम्बुदमालिकाभ्यां दूरीकृतानम्रविपत्ततिभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नताययो श्रीपतितां समीयुः कदाचिदप्याशु दरिद्रवर्याः मूकाश्च वाचस्पतितां हिताभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। नालीकनिकाशपदाहृताभ्यां नानाविमोहादिनिवारिकाभ्यां नमज्जनाभीष्टततिप्रदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नृपालिमौलिव्रजरत्नकान्ति सरिद्विराजझषकन्यकाभ्यां नृपत्वदाभ्यां नतलोकपङ्क्तेः नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां पापान्धकारार्कपरम्पराभ्यां तापत्रयाहीन्द्रखगेश्वराभ्यां जाड्याब्धिसंशोषणवाडवाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां शमादिषट्कप्रदवैभवाभ्यां समाधिदानव्रतदीक्षिताभ्यां रमाधवाङ्घ्रिस्थिरभक्तिदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां। Hari Om, salutations to all. So the 7th verse here says, Shamadhi Shatka Pradavai Bhavabhyam. The Padukas bless the person with the 6-fold wealth, Shatka Sampatti, beginning with Shama. Samadhi Dana Vrata Dikshitabhyam. They are committed to granting the experience of Samadhi. Vrata, as though the Padukas have taken the vrat that whoever worships them will experience Samadhi. Ramadhavangri Sthira Bhaktidabhyam. Also they will bless the person with steady and firm devotion for the feet of Lord Vishnu. So salutations to such Padukas. Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. So the 6-fold wealth. What are the 6-fold wealth? Shama is the mind control, the ability to keep the mind positive, happy. Dhamma is Mind control also is not to allow the mind to wander away into the sense pleasures. Dhamma is sense control. To control the senses from indulging in anything that is not conducive for spiritual growth. Shama, Dhamma. Uparama is withdrawal. So when we sit quietly, when mind control happens, sense control happens, then the mind automatically learns to withdraw in the seat of contemplation from all the other thoughts. Uparama is the ability to withdraw, even when the mind runs out again and again. Shanai Shanai Uparamed, Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya. Slowly, slowly one should pull it back. That capacity, that when the mind wanders, I bring it back. Shama, Dhamma, Uparama. Titiksha is tolerance. Gurudev used to say, tolerance from tiny pinpricks of life. In the early days of Brahmachari course in Pavai Ashram, one Brahmachari went to Gurudev and he complained that, Swamiji, there are so many mosquitoes here, I am not able to sleep. Gurudev instantly replied that, have you come here to sleep or to get awakened? And these are my tiny soldiers to keep you awake. He of course arranged for mosquito net, etc. after that. But point is, bear it till it is there. They are tiny pinpricks. Don't allow these to disturb the mind. So that is titiksha. Shraddha is a faith that the goal is there, that there is Bhagwan, there is that self. And on the basis of the Shastra, I am walking the path, I will reach there, I will discover that self. That is the Shraddha. And Samadhan is the absorption of the mind in that. It is not thoughtlessness, it is absorption of the mind. In that contemplation on the self, the mind gets absorbed. So these 6 qualifications, they are very important for a seeker. And each of them, one follows the other. There's a nice sequence in all these 6. All these together make the mind of the seeker very light. And one rises higher and higher in contemplation. So the worship of the Padukas blesses the person with these 6. Automatically, as we worship every day, the purity of mind increases. So the mind control, sense control happens. Uparama, when we worship, anyway the mind is getting withdrawn from every other thing and focusing on the worship of the Padukas. Shraddha, that the path that is shown by the Sadguru, I will definitely, walking the path, reach the goal. And Titiksha, all small little obstacles which come in the worship of the Padukas. That's why we take Sankalp and that's why we bind ourselves. That Digbandha when we do in the puja, it is so that the difficulties from any 10 directions that they come, they should not disturb us and we sit there. No matter what happens, we don't move here and there. And then again at the end of the puja we release. So that's for our own mind also. That be here now. No matter what happens, don't go out. Because body becomes very restless. So Titiksha and Samadhan. Day after day when one does the worship of the Padukas, the mind gets absorbed in that. So Shamadhi Shatka Pradavai Bhavabhyam. Samadhi Dana Vrata Dikshitabhyam. Such a beautiful line this is. That the Padukas have taken a vrat that whoever worships them will be given the experience of Samadhi. That is the commitment of the Padukas. In terms of cost-benefit analysis, if you do in management, cost-benefit analysis, this verse is the best one. Investment is very less, returns are maximum. 6-fold wealth also one gets, Samadhi also one gets, Bhagwan Bhakti also one gets. So this Samadhi Dana Vrata Dikshitabhyam, meaning a person who worships the Paduka steadily. So as we saw earlier, it is the worship of the self-knowledge. And it is the Sadguru who even prepares us actually for the experience of Samadhi and takes us till that state. Just imagine if people like Gurudev did not have that causeless compassion to come down and share the knowledge. And forget sharing the knowledge, even many of us did not know that there is something called bondage and we are bound. There is some avidya and that is the cause for the bondage, and that is why one is suffering. That knowledge of one's own, the root cause of suffering also was not there. Master like him has the compassion, comes down, and even when he came down 42 years, how much of struggle, every moment of his life. So the demand itself is created by the Sadguru. And slowly to evolve, a few stages we have given here, how from selfishness one evolves through Karma Yoga. So for us to be able to practice Karma Yoga, this entire platform of Chinmay Mission also Gurudev created. It is a need for the society, helps us. When we do Karma Yoga, when we do any work with that spirit, yesterday you saw in that work dedicated to the Lord, to the higher cause, that is Karma Yoga. So when we do that, our Rajoguna gets exhausted in a very sattvic way, and one increases more and more the Sattva Guna. And that is why study and service must go together. If we don't make both these go together, Gurudev's formula for spiritual unfoldment is that study and service for spiritual unfoldment, self-unfoldment. We study systematically, do the reflection. So he started study classes, various courses, camps, etc. And then take up some project and do seva. Through that Nishkam seva, through that selfless service, experience what is that joy of selflessness, what is the joy of working together for a noble cause. All these youngsters, they put in so much of hard work. Last afternoon they came in, now today morning again they are going back. And so much time they put in the effort of practice, this, that, and they do a lot of things that way. Why? Because there is an inspiration and regular study happens. Every Sunday they have a study class. Every Saturday I do a chick class for them. So there is a constant base of study and then service, and they go together. That way when we grow, so the Master created that whole platform, Chinmay Mission, for that service, for the study. Many places there is service available, but systematic study not available. Many places systematic study available, service opportunity not available. Here there is both, study and service. Then Upasana. Through Karma Yoga the mind gets purified. Then through Upasana, the mind must get single-pointed. So the Guru Upasana that one does, the Paduka Puja that we do, through that and daily practice of that. Upasana when we do daily, the mind learns to become single-pointed. So we need a support when Alamban. It will be the Ishta Devata, it can be the Sadguru's form, it can be the Padukas, any support system by which the mind becomes tuned, single-pointed. Such a mind will have jignasa to know, who am I, what is this self, who is this creator. That desire that I want to experience fulfillment is there in that heart. Such a person goes to the Sadguru, surrenders there and says, please teach me about this self. Hence the Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, listen to the Master, reflection on the thoughts, and then the Nididhyasan. And as one does Nididhyasan, where the mind flows steadily towards the self, that steady contemplation on the self will lead that person to Savikalpa Samadhi, where the mind will completely get absorbed in that object of contemplation. But yet there is the experience of duality which is there. I am the meditator, that is the meditated. Mind is absorbed in that, but the Triputi is there, experiencer, experienced, and the experiencing. From there one goes still higher, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That also goes away. One is absorbed in that. Long practice of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, so much of Jiva Bhav gets destroyed. And through this long practice of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, so many vasanas get burnt away. Gurudev used to say in the white heat of meditation, they will get roasted. that person ultimately come to get Atmanishtha, Sahaj Samadhi that is called. Then no more that person gets deluded. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one goes and again for some vasanas, whatever earlier tendencies are there, one is pushed out of it. So one keeps coming, going. And then steady practice of that, continuous practice of that, and the person gets established in Sahaj Samadhi. There is a process given even in Vedanta Sar, beautiful book by Swami Sadanandji. So, what do the Padukas do? They have taken the vow that they will push the seeker into that state of Sahaj Samadhi, get them established in the self. That's why Ramana Maharshi used to give a very nice example. He said that when we surrender to the Sadguru, it is like putting the head in the mouth of a lion. What will happen? Lion will eat, finished. This is not that circus lion where the trainer puts the head and takes it out. And lion doesn't do anything, keeps it open. Meaning, if one comes under the umbrella of a Sadguru, realization is sure. And the Padukas are like that. They represent the very knowledge in which the Sadguru is established. So that knowledge itself is like that. It will get us established there. So Samadhi Dana Vrata Dikshitabhyam. This experience of Samadhi is very important for us to destroy this Jiva Bhav. Jiva Bhav is very, very strong, that I am this individual. So no amount of intellectual knowledge is sufficient to get out of that Jiva Bhav. Slowly it happens. Through purity of the mind, Karma Yoga, then Upasana, then listening, contemplating, then Samadhi. It is a journey. Taponji Maharaj had actually decided to take sannyas, and just when he was about to leave, his father passed away. And his brother was young. So he stayed back to do work and to maintain the family, to take care of the brother's education, etc. So 8 years he was working. But during that time, so he never felt sad that, oh God, I decided to leave everything and now where am I stuck again? Now I have to do all this. No. He did his work as an offering to the Lord, continued to do some work. And then evenings, every evening he would go in a place called Panchavati. That's like a small garden or a forest type of a thing. Lots of trees and all there. And he would sit there in the evenings. And in that Ishwar Darshan he writes, 8 hours he used to be in Samadhi in that place. How much practice of Samadhi, Abhyas? Mind is absorbed in that. Imagine, the desire is to renounce the whole world and dedicate oneself to that, and then one is held back, and for 8 years or 10 years he was working, but he did not leave his spiritual quest. He said, I will live here like that as a renunciate. And he used to practice Samadhi. Samadhi Dana Vrata Dikshitabhyam. When Puja Gurudev was asked many times about Tapon Maharaj, he would not say anything much. He will just close his eyes. On one rare occasion he said this, in whom I became silent. This small I becomes silent. And also, as Swami Chinmayananda has a dynamic personality, in the knowledge that Tapon Maharaj gave, he became so silent. So, in whom I became silent. It is this knowledge which makes one experience that. So, Samadhi is not just some supernatural experience that comes and goes. Gurudev used to define it like that. Sama means equanimous and Dhi is the intellect. When the intellect gets absorbed in that state of the self, that is the Samadhi. When it becomes equanimous, freed from that fluctuations, freed from this Jiva Bhav, that state is the Samadhi. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to go into Samadhi just listening to the word Kali and goes into Samadhi. There's one example of this Sufi fakir. So this Nizamuddin Auliya is a great Sufi fakir, and one poor person comes to him. This is in the Middle East, in the desert. So one poor person comes to him saying, ki, I am extremely poor, but I have to get my daughter married. Can you please help me? So he says, I am a Sufi, I am a fakir, I don't have anything much. But these padukas are there, this footwear is there. You take it and see what you get with that. And wish you all success for your daughter's wedding. And he gave. Now this man, he took those padukas and he was walking back. He was feeling what anybody will give for these padukas, sitting down somewhere dejected. It is that time that one merchant was coming there on a camel. So he came there on the camel. He has lots of camels, he has many things with him. So he got down and he asked him, can you please give me some water? So he gave him some water and he was sitting there. He says, what is this in your hand? He said, these are the footwear. He said, whose? He said, it's Nizamuddin Auliya, there is some Sufi fakir, he is there. His padukas are there. Immediately his face lit up. And he asked, will you give it to me? So he was he said, no, I have to sell this, for my daughter's wedding he gave me, I need to sell this. What will you give me? He said, what do you want? If you want, I will give you all these 17 camels full of wealth. You just take it, but just give me these padukas. And that man could not believe. He said, for this you will give 17 camels of wealth. Don't joke with me. He said, no, I will give, you take. And he took. And when he got those padukas, as he got those padukas, thinking about Nizamuddin Auliya, he went into samadhi. And this man could not believe. They say this is a real story that has happened, where that is the glory of the padukas and that is the glory of the knowledge, and thinking about the Sadguru, thinking about the knowledge that he has given. And this merchant is supposed to be Amir Khusro. He went into that state of quietude. So even literally it is possible. Because the padukas represent that knowledge, and contemplating on that one goes there. In the Drigdrishya Vivek, many different types of samadhi are given there. Drishyanuviddha savikalpa samadhi, Shabdanuviddha savikalpa samadhi. Just looking at it, the person goes into samadhi. Looking at a certain object, one goes into samadhi. First experience of samadhi that Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had was when he was going across in a field and black clouds are there and white swan are flying across. And looking at that, he goes into samadhi. He becomes even unconscious and falls down. And he didn't know at that time what was even happening. So many times it is that these experiences come and go, but for a Vedantic student, it is this establishment in the self, that is the samadhi, where the intellect gets firmly established and there is no more any jiva bhav, the ego has dissolved, and there is experience of oneness with everything. That is the state. And that is a steady state. That is our true nature actually. So samadhidana vrata dikshitabhyam. Gurudev is to define this in his own style. I just want you to see that very nice video. Nikalo?
Your moha kalilam, confused mind, buddhi vedidarishadi, all your confusions of the intellect. Confusions of the intellect means under the compulsion of the vasanas, the mind and intellect's attention is dissipated into the world of plurality. When that is reduced, vasanas have been removed, the pressure of vasana on emenda is reduced, mind and intellect's dissipation into the world of OAT is curtailed, the mental attention, mental and intellectual attention gets conserved in the mind itself. Such a dynamic mind is called a buddhi, an intellect that has gone beyond all the illusions, all misconceptions. When does your intellect gets redeemed from its involvement with the world outside? Quiet, alert, vigilant. Tadagantas nirvedam. At that time, how am I to know that the intellect and mind has been purified? At such a time, a pure mind gathers in nirvedam. It becomes indifferent to all that you had heard before from your teacher, directly from the teacher or indirectly through the scriptural textbooks, all the knowledges, objective knowledge, even subjective knowledge that you have learned, and what is yet to be learned. Ordinarily, when you are living at the intellectual level, every studious child will have memory of what he has already studied, and he has a program of studying certain things which he has not yet understood properly so far. For all these bits of information regarding the outer world of experiences or the inner world of spiritual experiences, they are all at best only informations. You become indifferent to all that. The scriptures that you have studied, the words of guidance that the teacher gave you, they have all great use while you are in the confusion. Once the mind has come out of these confusions, its involvement with the world of plurality, the mind is pure. Purest mind is that infinite reality. Purer the mind, greater the contemplation. Deeper you go into contemplation, more and more you come to experience that state. And when the mind and intellect is totally, absolutely pure, meaning the last thought is thoughted and the next thought is not thoughting, all thought disturbances in the mind has ended. Absolute and complete purity of the mind is that state, because you have crossed the mind. You have gone beyond the mind and intellect. Mind and intellect is only, it is only a mind only when so long as thoughts are flying. In deep sleep there is no mind, because there are no thoughts. Under chloroform there is no mind, because there are no thoughts. When you through contemplation come to end all thoughts, no more any anxiety to know anything, nor is there any value for what you have already known. All those knowledges are belonging to the world of Einsteinian world of plurality, of change, the world conditioned by time. You have already reached the timeless, the perfect, the immutable, the total physical, mental, intellectual satisfaction floods into you. There is no more any anxiety to know anything. You have known.
So you have known all that is to be known. So that is the state, the samadhi, where through contemplation one reaches there. Let us remember that aspect. It is not mere thoughtlessness that every night in deep sleep happens to us, but it is that absorption in the self, and that comes through steady contemplation. Somebody asked Gurudev, Swamiji, what is the difference between deep sleep and meditation? So Gurudev replied, deep sleep is like casual leave and meditation is like a transfer. Think such a nice way to explain. Deep sleep is like casual leave. You put leave 3 days, again you come back to the same place to work. So every day from waking we go to that deep sleep, again we come back to waking. But he said meditation is a transfer. You get transferred to a different place. In that way you get transferred to a different state of consciousness. Yad gatva na nivartante. Experiencing that state, that is actually the fourth state. Turiya avastha it is. The nature of the self, my own true nature. Then one doesn't come back. So samadhidana vrata dikshitabhyam. Ramadhavangri sthira bhaktidabhyam. In Srimad Bhagavad is said so nicely that even if you get experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, if there is no bhakti in your heart, what is the point of that Samadhi? The Padukas bless the person with Samadhi, with that bhakti for that Lord. It is not some dull state. It is that state that the Lord in my heart is the Lord everywhere. Ramadhavangri sthira bhaktidabhyam. Ramadhava is the spouse of Rama, that is Mother Lakshmi. And sthira bhakti, that is most important. We also get bhakti in sprouts and phases. So after a camp we say, no, every day morning I am going to get up and do meditation. And charged inspiration is there. After 5 days again, it's okay. Anyway there is rebirth. Next Janma will take up moksha. This Janma may not happen. Again goes down. A steady bhakti, sthira bhakti dabhyam. These two padukas, they represent consistency in the sadhana and steadiness in the sadhana. Both are very important. Every day one must do that. That's why the niyam is there. Because the mind is very fickle. So if I bind myself with a niyam, saying that every day I will do 108 times japa, or I will chant the name of Gurudev, 108 names of Gurudev. One niyam. And that one should not compromise on that, or Sandhya Vandan, or Puja, or whatever it is. And it must be done daily, every day, consistently. That consistency is what is very important. That will bring that steadiness in the devotion and in the mind, both. Otherwise one feels like doing. That's why Gurudev defined freedom very nicely. Freedom is not to do what you feel like doing. Meaning not to be impulsive. Mind by itself otherwise is impulsive. So how to be steady in that? So this is Padukas, daily worship of the Padukas, they bring that steadiness. Ramadhavangri sthira bhaktidabhyam. And a Sadguru is the one who will bring that bhakti for the Lord in the heart of the student. That person is really a Sadguru. One Hindi couplet says very nicely that जो बात दवा न कर सके वो बात दुआ से होती है, जब काबिल सदगुरु मिलते हैं तो बात खुदा से होती है. The person will bring that devotion in the hearts. He doesn't want personal followers, that you get committed to me, you be devoted to me. The Sadguru brings the disciple to the Lord through the Shastra and makes that person independent. And that's why one of the beauties that we have in Chinmaya mission is Gurudev never created a Chinmaya cult. People on their own get devoted to Gurudev, that is a different matter. But he always brought them to the scriptures, to the Lord. And he always used to say, and he used to use a pointer for that BMI chart. So many times you say, I am only the pointer, I am not the pointed. Looking at the pointer, you look in the direction of the pointer to the pointed and discover that state. I am a pointer. And what a fascinating pointer he was. So the job of the teacher is that. Even if somebody gets inspired by the person takes that disciple to the Lord, to the Shastra, and to their own self ultimately. That's why Ramadhavangri sthira bhaktidabhyam. And that's what the Padukas also do. Even if a person does not believe in Ishvara, when disciple comes to the Guru and starts believing in the Sadguru and surrender and faith in the Sadguru brings them to Ishvara and makes them dissolve their ego. So here is another nice video. Some of you may have seen this, again from Sadhana Panchakam, on devotion. What is the difference between love and devotion?
Devotion means love. Devotion means love. Love means a kind of devotion. What is devotion? A kind of love. If both are the same, prema, love, bhakti, devotion. Why two words for the same thing? That is absurd. In no language you got two names of the meaning the same. There is some difference. What is the difference between love and devotion? Think. You all know what is love, isn't it? I love my dog. I love my chapel. I love my wife. You say these all the three in one sentence. There will be a great commotion in the family for the next 1 week. Isn't it? But the idea is right. I love my dog. You are right. Do you love the chapel? I go, I love the chapel. And wife? Yes, I love. Don't you think it's insulting? Okay. Nobody says that I am devoted to my dog. Except a few. No decent husband would say. No decent husband would say that I am devoted to my wife. I love my wife, right. But not devoted. But you are devoted to your parents. Devoted to your teacher. Devoted to art. Devoted to my profession. Okay? Devoted to my country. Devoted to that philosophy, political or philosophical. Devoted to the ideal, right. But I love my dog, I love my horse, I love my motorcycle, I love. You don't say that I am devoted to my motorcycle. Think of the difference. What is the difference? The emotion remaining the same. Love and devotion. The emotion remaining the same. When that emotion of love is towards something lower, I call it love. And the same emotion, when it is towards something higher, we call it. Think. Don't accept, I told you. I think you are sitting down and accepting. Don't accept. When the emotion of devotion or love is for the lower, it is called LOVE. I love this, I love that, I love chocolate also, I love blue color, I love blue color, I love everything, blah, 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 blah. But devotion is only when the same emotion is lifted to an altar higher. Now, in all languages of the world, all of you when you are teenagers, you must have gone through one or two experiences of what you generally call all over the world. I fell in love. Anybody who has never fallen in love? Miserable man. You have missed something. At least now go and fall one. I fell in love. Is there a definition in every language? What do you mean by fall in love? Swamiji, till yesterday I was a carefree, happy, jolly good man. And yesterday evening in the temple I saw her. Then what happened? Well, is it not? That means what? You are not slip and fall. I have fallen in my poise, balance, inner happiness, I seem to have gone into confusion. I don't know now whether I will be able to marry her, whether my parents will allow me, how will I marry, but if I marry, I'll have to look after her, and how will I look after her, where is the money for it, and I have no job at all, I am unemployed and unemployable. All the sorrows come to your mind. Then you say, I have fallen in love. Falling in love is called love, but rising in love is called devotion. When you become devoted to some ideal, you start developing your personality. Your little stature grows. So to rise in love is called devotion. So when I have got a goal, a symbol there to symbolize my beloved Lord, and when I tune up my mind to Him in devotion, I cultivate or develop my faculties more and more if I am sincere.
Right. So this rising in love is that devotion, and the Sadguru, the Padukas, they grant that steady devotion. As Gurudev said, if I am sincere and I have got that ideal and I rise in love for that, that is the bhakti. So Ramadhavangre Sthira Bhakti Dabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. 8th one. Swarcha Paranam Akhileshtadabhyam Swaha Sahayaksha Dhurandharabhyam Swantacha Bhava Pradapujanabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. So he says, Swarcha Paranam Akhileshtadabhyam. Those who are constantly engaged in contemplation on the self. Swarcha Paranam. Akhila Ishtadabhyam. All the desires of that person are fulfilled. So earlier we already saw that those who bow down to the Padukas, their desires are granted, etc. So here what does that mean? Engage in contemplation on the self, all the desires are fulfilled. How can it be like that? So obviously this is not speaking about material desires. Here it is like what the Upanishad says, that at the time of that realization, the joy experienced by that person is as though the joy of all the desires fulfilled at the same time. Saha ashnute sarvan kaman saha. Why? Because the very object of all my desires, the purpose of all my desires is to make me feel happiness. And I want that permanent happiness. Experience of the self is the experience of that permanent happiness. So the purpose of all desires is already attained. So then what more is there to be attained? So through steady contemplation on the self, that person comes to experience that state. And the Padukas bless that person. Swarcha Paranam Akhila Ishtadabhyam. Even at a material level, one should be very careful what one desires. Now, Gurudev told a devotee in Siddhabari, when the person came to meet Gurudev, he said, you have come to Siddhabari. This is the place of tapas. Lot of siddhas have done tapas here. So be very careful what you desire here. Because their sankalpa is so pure. He says, what you think will happen. So even at a material level that is true. But here it is at the spiritual level that all the desires of that person as though get fulfilled, because the very purpose of all the desires is that happiness which one experiences by contemplating on the self. So Swarcha Paranam Akhileshtadabhyam Swaha Sahayaksha Dhurandharabhyam. So Swaha is the wife of Agni Devata. Swaha and Swadha, they are two wives of Agni Devata. So here it means the one whose eyes have fire, meaning Lord Shiva. And in this context, Shankaracharya ji being the avatar of Lord Shiva, So the reference here is that the padukas which are worn by Shankaracharya, which bore the weight, Dhurandharabhyam, which bore the weight of Adi Shankaracharya, my salutations to those padukas. So it is possible that maybe in all the four mathas, the padukas of Shankaracharya ji must be there, and the composition is to revere that those padukas. So Swaha Sahayaksha Dhurandharabhyam, Swantacha Bhava Prada Pujanabhyam. The padukas grant purity of the mind to those people who worship it. Swa Anta Acha Bhava. One's own mind gets purified. So what is that criteria, the milestone by which we come to know that my mind is getting purified? Some milestones are required. No, as we go to a destination, we see the milestones on the way, which says, okay, 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers. So the distance also is shown, how much one has covered, how much yet to go. So the 6th chapter of the Gita gives nicely 3 pointers. That when our mind has no craving for sense pleasures, yadahi na indriyartheshu, when the mind doesn't crave but doesn't become extroverted, that I should eat this, I should go there, I should listen to this, no such craving is there. Na karmashu anusajjate, and in work, it is not restless to do work. It can sit silently. We are required to do the work, otherwise be quiet, be with oneself. So yada na indriyartheshu na karmasu anusajjate. And sarva sankalpa sannyasi. One has given up fanciful imaginations, projecting happiness in the world outside. One stops all that. That, as Gurudev said in his talk, that is a dynamic mind which has conserved its energies, vitality within itself. That is the purified mind. Yoga rudha tada uchyate. Then that person is ready for steady contemplation. Because the mind is not disturbed by desires, not disturbed by rajoguna to go out and work, and not disturbed by fanciful imaginations. Steadily one can contemplate on the self. So the daily worship of the padukas help the person to develop this purity of the mind. Because as the worship happens and as the mind starts finding the joy in that single pointedness, it will start experiencing that happiness which I am seeking outside with so much of effort. Many times I get it, I don't get it, and even when I get it, is so temporary. That is right here in my heart. There is a joy of sadhana. Even that joy of sadhana, that steadiness, one starts experiencing that joy. Literally there is a rasa, as though. One feels so happy, so peaceful, so nice. Then the person does not have any more cravings outside. Wants to experience that more and more, turns introvert. So that is the pure mind. Swantacha bhava prada pujanabhyam. So our bhavanas also get purified. In the 17th chapter, that is defined as purity of the mind. Tapas of the mind is bhava samshuddhi, is one of the tapas of the mind. The bhavanas get purified. So our feeling for sense object doesn't remain anymore. Our feeling for devotion for the Lord, that increases. Swantacha bhava prada pujanabhyam, namo namah shri guru padukabhyam. Kamadi sarpa vrajagarudabhyam, viveka vairagya nidhi pradabhyam, bodha pradabhyam dhruta mokshadabhyam, namo namah shri guru padukabhyam, namo namah shri guru padukabhyam. So Kamadi Sarpa. So 6 impurities beginning with Kama are like the snakes. So Kama is selfishness, Krodha is anger, Lobha is greed, Moha is delusion, Mada is intoxication, Matsarya is jealousy. These 6 snakes, Kamadi Sarpa, Vrajagarudabhyam. So Padukas are like the Garuda in whose presence these six go away. Many times it is also said that Garuda mantra, if you chant, snake goes away. So the idea here is that these six impurities of the mind, these six vikars, these shadripus, six enemies, they pull down the seeker. And if we see of these six, the first one is the cause of the rest of the five. Selfishness. That selfishness is what leads to all the other five. So Bhagavan was an expert marketing manager. He made that deal already. 1 + 5 free. If you have selfishness, other five will automatically come. Anger, greed, jealousy, all that will come. That's why Karma Yoga is so important, to get over this mala, the impurities of the mind. Go on serving the society with selflessness. Nothing I want for myself. That bhavana when one has, that I will do this seva, my offering to the Lord, that purest of intentions, then that mind becomes selfless. So Kamadi Sarpa Vraja Garudabhyam. And when we look at the master living in that way, so much of joy. Seeker also learns to evolve that way. So Kamadi Sarpa Vraja Garudabhyam, Viveka Vairagya Nidhi Pradabhyam. Though they provide the person with the treasure of Vivek and Vairagya. Both these we have covered earlier, so I am not elaborating. That how the student, earlier it was said Vivek Vairagya, again here it is said, and then Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti also was said. So all the Sadhan Chatushtaya, the Padukas bless the person. Viveka Vairagya Nidhi Pradabhyam, Bodha Pradabhyam, Dhruta Mokshadabhyam. And they provide self-knowledge. And Dhruta Moksha, instant liberation. See, this verse, if you see very beautifully, this shloka is. The first line is what we call dosha apanayana. All that which is negative, which are our limitations, we should remove all those. First line is dosha apanayana. Second line is guna adhan, viveka, vairagya, etc. And both these are done for what? For the Jnana Prakriya, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan and self-knowledge. So this verse actually covers the spiritual path fully, beautifully, and leads to freedom ultimately. That is the result. So you saw in the play yesterday that to be good and do good is not enough. Was Arjuna a good man or not? He was on the side of dharma or not? Was he not very skilled? He was very skilled also. He can shoot with blind eye, he can shoot when he is blindfolded, he can shoot at the sound of the enemy. Such a skilled and mighty warrior who was a good person, who was a strong person, not that he was good and weak. He was a good person, he was a strong person, he was a skilled and efficient person who has practiced for so many years, and still he collapsed in the Mahabharata war. What does that go to show? That it is not enough to be good. It is very important to be spiritually good and to awaken to that self-knowledge. What did Bhagavan do in the Gita? Gita is not given only for the sake of inspiring Arjun to fight the war. That one small pep talk he could have given, Ki Arjun, come on, you are a Kshatriya, fight the war. No, he didn't do that. Purpose of the Gita, it is a Moksha Shastra. That what is the importance of Bodha, the importance of knowledge, spiritual knowledge and illumination in our life. That no matter how good we are, we still remain finite, we still remain limited. And that sense of limitation is always going to lead to sorrow. Hence one has to wake up. So Bodha Pradabhyam. And there is only one way to wake up, is the knowledge of the self. Even for bhakti it is said, Dadami buddhi yogam tam, yena mam upayantite. Bhagavan blesses that person with the knowledge of the self and makes them realize the self. So here it is that Bodha Pradabhyam, Karma Yoga, Upasana, etc., they are the preparatory means, and ultimately it is the self-knowledge which is the direct means to liberation. Bodha Pradabhyam and Dhruta Mokshadabhyam. quickly. When somebody asked Ramana Maharshi, how much time does it take to realize? He said, not even the time taken by you to wink your eye. Faster than that you realize. And yet it is said, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. Why? Because the preparation takes so long. Mind has become so extroverted, wandering. So though Padukas help to prepare also, and ultimately the Padukas represent that self-knowledge, contemplating on which one gets established. So Bodha Pradabhyam, Druta Mokshadabhyam. Quickly, instantly one wakes up to that self. Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. So that is where we come to an end of these 9 verses. Let us chant the first verse once again as a symbol that we will continue to study this text and live it in our life. Ananta samsara samudratara naukaitabhyam guru bhaktidabhyam vairagya samrajyada pujanabhyam namo namah shri guru padukabhyam namo namah shri guru padukabhyam. So my gratitude to Puja Gurudev, to the Supreme Lord, to Puja Guruji, to all the organizers of this Maharashtra Goa camp for giving me this opportunity to reflect on this Paduka Stotram, and to all of you who have been such sincere sadhaks and you have been an instrument in my sadhana for doing manan on this beautiful text. So my gratitude and thank you to everyone. We offer this at the feet of the Lord and Puja Gurudev. Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana va prakrite svabhavat karomi adyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayami Shri Chinmayayeti samarpayami. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu. I will just take 5 more minutes of yours. We have a very beautiful project that Chinmaya Mission Mumbai has taken up in this birth centenary year of Puja Gurudev, and that's a project given to us by Puja Guruji. Pavai Ashram is the first ashram of Puja Gurudev, and the first Sandipani Sadhanalaya came up there. The first temple, Jagdishwar temple, has come up there, and the Kutiya of Puja Gurudev is there. So around the Kutiya of Puja Gurudev, in outdoor, we are creating a wonderful permanent exhibition on the life and vision of Puja Gurudev. More of it is the vision of Puja Gurudev, and it's a permanent exhibition outdoor. In India, till today, we don't have any outdoor exhibition which is on the life of a person and the vision of a person. And we have in that exhibition many, many beautiful things. The essence of the Gita, the Sthita Prajna Lakshan, is depicted beautifully. The 4 Mahavakyas are depicted through interactive installations. The BMI chart is depicted, the essence of Vedanta. Through Puja Gurudev's life and his work, various activities, projects of Chinmaya Mission, and how Gurudev transformed from an atheist to a believer and then to a committed seeker and a sannyasi. So I just want to share with you, this is just for your information, this brochure you must have got. There is a small video that we have made on what this Chinmay Pradeep is. This project is called Chinmay Pradeep. Audio. So more details you will have in this brochure. If you have not got, you can take it as you go out. So the play that you saw yesterday was the one part, Karma Yoga. So for youngsters, we are having a camp here in Vibhuti from 20th May to 22nd May on the same theme, just like that. And the 3 yogas of the Gita, it will be based on that. Yesterday you must have got this white pamphlet. This camp is open for all, so all the youngsters from all the centers. So if you would like to send your youngsters, please do send. And these details also are available. He is Deepak, he is our Joint Secretary of Chinmaya Yuva Kendra. And you can contact him also for further details. We will actually have sessions on the Gita, and also the play will be performed for the youngsters and they can learn through that also. And lastly, we also conduct the youth empowerment program where we train the youngsters for a few months and then they go out and they serve the society for a whole year. And this time is the 10th batch of youth empowerment program. These students who finish this program, they are called Yuva Veers. And so this time the 10th batch is coming under the Chinmaya University. There is the university approval, etc. will come soon. And so from June onwards, this batches will happen under the university, and they will have the semester pattern and exam, evaluation, service, everything. And the entire course is conducted free for them. So anybody who would like to send their youngsters to this program, please send them. The basic requirement is they must be committed to give 1 year for the country, empower themselves and empower other youngsters in the society. That is the main objective. So learn for 3 months, serve for 9 months, grow for life. That is the basic structure of this program. And that program also will be conducted here. I will be anchoring that program here. And then service happens in different centers. So for all these projects and programs, I invite you to please come forward and participate. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.